同学们，大家晚上好。我们今天的海外研究生院校云分享会活动现在就要正式开始了。在我们今天的直播里呢，我们也有幸请到了 Fordham University Gabelli School of Business、福特汉姆大学加贝利商学院以及 Wake Forest University 维克森林大学以及 Suffolk University 萨福克大学的招生官老师，为大家带来今天这场干货满满的分享活动。在今天的直播当中呢，同学们不仅可以了解到每所大学不同优秀的专业和项目，也可以了解到海外学习生活还有工作的真实面貌。接下来呢，我们将依次邀请各大学代表逐一上台进行分享，每所大学都会有15分钟的时间介绍自己的学校。我们也会在活动中间向大学提问我们收集到的大家最感兴趣的一些问题，这些问题主要包括国外的学习、工作还有生活这3个方面。当然呢，我们同时也非常欢迎大家向我们这些经验丰富的招生官老师提出属于你们自己的问题。好了，那么我们话不多说，就让我们先邀请第一所大学的招生官老师上台，他是来自 Fordham University Gabelli School of the Business 的 Lawrence 老师。 Let's welcome Lawrence. Hi Lawrence.
Good morning. Good evening.
Okay, you can just start it.
Great. Good evening. My name is Lawrence Murray, and I am the Dean of Admissions at Fordham University's Gabelli School of Business in Midtown New York City in the United States. Next slide, please. I'm here to talk with you about a wide variety of our specialized Masters of Science programs here at the Gabelli School of Business. As you can see, that we have a wide variety of programs across several verticals. In the analytics vertical, we have applied statistics and decision making, as well as business analytics and marketing intelligence. In the business technology vertical, we have information technology. There are 2 finance programs, a Master's of Science in Global Finance, as well as a Master's of Science in Quantitative Finance. In the management vertical, there are 3 programs, a Master's of Science in Management, a Master's of Science in Media Management, a Strategic Marketing and Communications degree, and finally in the professional services, we have 2 accounting-focused programs, an MS in Accounting and an MS in Taxation. All of our programs are STEM designated with the exception of the Masters of Science in Management and the Masters of Science in Strategic Marketing and Communications. So that means that all of these programs are steeped in data and analytics, and for international students who are looking for additional work authorization, it gives them 2 additional years of OPT. So that's a total of 3 years of OPT after completing your degree. Next slide, please. In addition to the robust and industry relevant content that you'll get in the classroom, we also believe in developing leaders around leadership and creating well-rounded leaders who graduate from our program. So we created the Gabelli Leadership Certification a few years ago. This is an option for all students in all of our programs, and as you can see here, it includes a leadership assessment, several leadership assessments, a leadership simulations, the opportunity to meet with an executive mentor for leadership coaching, and then leadership networking opportunities. We recognize that in order to be successful, it includes the content knowledge, the technical skills that you're going to learn in the classroom, as well as the development of the soft skills outside of the classroom, and this helps us achieve that goal. Next slide, please. We recognize that the main reason why students choose graduate business programs is to get a job, an internship, and then a full-time job. So here you have the opportunity to work with our career development team. I just wanted to share a few company examples of where our career development team came from, the different companies that they've worked for over their career. So as you can see, they bring knowledge from some of the top companies in the world. Next slide, please. And through our Career Development Center, you have a wide variety of opportunities to engage and to develop and hone those skills and experiences necessary to be successful in the internship search and full-time job search. So here's just a few examples of some of those activities: one-on-one career, consulting and advising, on-campus recruiting. It's virtual now between on-campus recruiting and company site visits. They're pre-pandemic. It actually was physically on campus or at a company site, and now it's virtual. It'll be virtual probably for the next 9 months. COVID, it actually granted us a lot of opportunities that we didn't have before. So We recruit with a wide variety of companies, as you can see. Some of them just didn't have the infrastructure to do company visits or to have robust on-campus recruiting. I think people would be surprised at some of these large companies that don't have that stuff together. And so going virtual actually allowed us to expand the number of companies that our students got exposure to. So we were quite surprised with that. And the end result was that we had a higher percentage of students get internships as well as full-time jobs for the graduating class of 2020. Next slide, please. Here's just an example of, as I mentioned, we saw an increase in the number of job offers and internship offers. Here's just an example of some of the companies that hired our students for full-time jobs as well as for internships. Again, as you can see, it is a good variety of global companies. Next slide, please. We are in the heart of Manhattan, literally in the middle of New York City. Despite the recent global pandemic, we still have the highest percentage of private sector jobs of anywhere in the United States. It is still, New York City is still sort of the global engine or part of the global engine of the world economy, definitely of the United States. So it's still lots of opportunities in and around the New York area. Being part of our Gabelli network means that you will be one of nearly 10,000 alumni that are potentially in the tri-state area. We have 40,000 plus alumni from the Gabelli School of Business around the world. And then we have access to the nearly 200,000 Fordham University alumni around the world. So our alumni are very committed, loyal, and passionate to helping our students succeed and achieve their career goals. Next slide, please. In addition to what you're doing around career and what you're learning in the classroom, there are also opportunities for you to enhance and enrich your experience by joining student clubs and organizations. Here's just a few examples. We actually have more than 25 student clubs and organizations. And here's just a few examples: the Fordham Women in Business, the Fordham Finance Society, the Black and Hispanic MBA Association, and we also have a Chinese Business Student Association. As you can see here from this example, it's a wide variety. We've got student clubs and organizations that are more career focused, like the Finance Society and the Consulting Association. And we have some affinity organizations like Fordham Women in Business and the Black and Hispanic MBA Association, as well as the Chinese Business Student Association. So there's a wide variety of clubs and organizations to get involved with. It's important that students understand that getting involved with some of these clubs are critical to their success in achieving their career goals. The student clubs often serve as an intersection point between working with alumni and our corporate partners, the faculty, as well as looking at broadening your network. Next slide, please. These are pretty simple and basic application requirements and nothing too different than what you've seen before. I'd just like to state that we are now a test optional school, with the exception for our Master's of Science in Quantitative Finance. That still requires a GMAT or a GRE. We also now accept all of the online or digital versions of the language competency test. That's still a requirement if English is not your first language. The TOEFL, the IELTS, the Pearson test for English, and the Duolingo English test are all exams that can be done remotely. So lots of options there for you as well. Next slide, please. Here are our admissions deadline. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Our next deadline is April 9th, and our final deadline will be in June 11th. Next slide, please. Here are the costs regarding tuition and fees. Again, it's pretty straightforward. You can follow the hyperlink on this slide to go to our website to learn a little bit more detail, but we charge by the credit. And so the different master's programs have a different number of credits. And so you simply multiply the number of credits times the tuition rate and then add in the fees. Again, pretty self-explanatory. You could go to our website for more detailed information. Next slide, please. We offer generous scholarships to help support our students achieve their academic goals. With our Master's of Science programs, the scholarships are merit-based at the time of admission, so there's no additional application necessary. Those scholarship awards range from $15,000 to $35,000 US. In addition, we partner on the admission side, we partner with student loan organizations that specialize in providing student loans to international students. Once you've matriculated as a student, you have the opportunity to apply for graduate assistantships, as well as a limited number of continuing student scholarships. Next slide. Here's a wide variety of ways that you can engage with us virtually. Again, if you click on any of the links here, it will take you to our Visit Us section of our website, and you can schedule a virtual class visit. You can do a virtual tour. We have a new AR, VR enabled campus tour. So lots of opportunities to engage, and I would encourage you to take advantage of that. Next slide, please. Here are some of the things I know that we've had some questions about sort of how we managed through COVID, and we're still managing through COVID. But we did make the decision, and we were already thinking about going test optional. COVID just accelerated that decision-making process. We lengthened our deadlines. We added a deadline and sort of lengthened the amount of time that students provided them more time to submit their application. We've made significant investments in educational technology as well as instructional design with course builders and instructional designers. Students have the option to do hybrid learning or blended learning. We are planning to be in person for fall of 21. So those students who are able to make it to New York City will have the opportunity to be in class in person. And for those students who might not be able to make it, they still have the option of attending remotely until they are able to make it in person. We are still adhering to the very strict health and safety protocols, which includes on-campus density reduction or social distancing. Next slide, please. Here are the contacts. Here is the contact information for the members of our admissions team. So you can reach out to them directly. Simply look for the program that you might be interested in, and they're eager and willing to take your inquiries. And next slide. And that's all I have. So if you have any questions, this is we have a Chinese microsite. The link is there, and we have a very active WeChat presence also, and there's the QR code. So now I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
All right, cool. Thanks, Lawrence. That's great. So we do prepare some questions, so I want to go for that first. So the first one is what to do if a candidate doesn't meet the language requirement. Yeah, so if you don't meet the language requirements, all is not lost. We have a minimum of 100 on the TOEFL and a 6 or 7 on the IELTS. So if you're just a little below that, we totally understand, and we will review your application. But if we find that language is an issue, then there are a couple of different options for you. Excuse me. You can partake in a program called the International Bridge Program, which is an intensive language competency program that can be done in either a semester or a year in advance of your matriculating into one of your master's programs. So we may say, you know what, you've got great skills, but we think that your language is an issue. We'd like for you to successfully complete IBB, the International Business Bridge Program. Once you've completed that, you're able to transition right back into the program that you applied for. If you're just looking to build your confidence and to sort of polish your language skills, we've got a very unique program called Gabelli Talk, and that happens in the summer just before you start. It's virtual right now, but pre-COVID it was in person, and it's about a 6 to 8 week program that's focused on language, communication, and culture. Nice. Okay, so the next question is, what is the employment rate for the graduates? What? I'm sorry, say that one more time. One sec. What is the employment rate for the graduate? Employment rate, right, yeah. Right. Okay, great question. So that varies by program. As you can see, we have 13 specialized master's programs, and sort of each one of them has a different employment rate. On average, our students for internships,
it's about 65% of students who are seeking an internship get an internship. And then at the time of graduation, it ranges from about 40% all the way up to 99%. So depending on the program, our business analytics and our quantitative finance programs tend to have to be very high in terms of employment statistics. Global finance is just behind that. Accounting also tends to be very high, but it depends on the program.
Awesome. Also, before you mentioned about the COVID-19, and we actually did a lot of things. And here have the student ask, like, are there any vaccines plans for camps?
Yeah, so we are actually providing, and that's new. It just happened last week. That the university now is providing vaccines. So in the United States, I'm not sure how much everyone's keeping up with all the news. Well, I know there's a lot in the news with the U.S., but in terms of the vaccine, we're still not necessarily at the point where everyone who wants a vaccine can get a vaccine. We're getting there. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should have more vaccine than demand. And so you should be able to just go to any sort of pharmacy or a doctor to get a vaccine at your leisure.
All right, thanks. And okay, so that will be all for your session today. And thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
好，非常感谢 Lawrence 老师为我们带来的精彩的分享。接下来呢，我们要有请第二所学校的书生官老师上场，他是来自 Wake Forest University 的 John 老师。Let's welcome John. Hi, John.
Hi there. Good evening to you. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, you can just start it.
Okay. Ready for introductions then? Okay, you can advance the slide. So good evening to all my friends in China. Very different from Fordham. We are not in New York City. We are located in North Carolina. So we are in the southeastern part of the United States on the coast. You've seen I draw some arrows there. We are in Winston-Salem. So I like to say it is a big city without all the hassles of a big city. So we have very low traffic, great cost of living, very low crime rates. We're an hour from Charlotte, North Carolina, the second largest financial center in the United States outside New York City, and an hour and 20 minutes from Raleigh, which is the tech capital. Next slide. We're in a very friendly, safe, and healthy part of North Carolina, Western North Carolina. We have low crime rates, great weather. Our average temperature is 70 degrees. And you will see that actually Wake Forest is the home of Krispy Kreme donuts. That's a brand that carries all over the world. It was founded here. Lots of great opportunities to be outdoors here as well. Next slide. Here's some photos of both our main campus as well as our new campus in downtown Winston-Salem. It's about 10 minutes from our campus. We now have our medical school, our PA school, as well as our new engineering program there. Next slide when you're ready. This is the business school. So unlike some other programs, our business school is very small. We service 850 students in total. And within the master's programs that I work on, we are servicing and supporting about 350 students in total. Our programs are small by design and intent. Next slide. So the programs that I work on specifically are the MSA, the Master of Science in Accountancy, which is a STEM designated program, the MSM, which is very much like the first year of an MBA program, and then the MSBA, which is our STEM designated business analytics program. Next slide. The student is at the epicenter of everything we do at Wake Forest, and I cannot stress that enough. We're a very student-centric business school. So you'll see in the top quadrant, we have our integrative student services team. That is a staff member who is responsible for your extracurricular, co-curricular, and what I refer to as your holistic student support during your time at Wake Forest. On the right side is program faculty and leadership. We have high levels of faculty-student engagement. Oftentimes for our international students, I know that dynamic is different than what you're used to with a traditional student-faculty partnership, but you would find it to be very refreshing and a welcome change from what you're used to, with high levels of faculty engagement with students. The lower area, we have market readiness and employment. That's our career coaches. We're very proud of our career coaching model at Wake Forest. We provide full career support to all students, regardless of country of origin, and you're a match one-to-one with a career coach. And we have exceptional career outcomes for all students. And then, of course, in the left quadrant is my team, enrollment management. We have 8 recruiters, and we love working with international students. So we are here to support you on your journey, both through admissions and enrollment. Next slide, please. We'll talk first about the accountancy program. We have one of the top MSA programs in the United States. We've had this #1 CPA pass rate for 17 out of the last 20 years. This program is STEM designated as well due to the significant amount of analytics in the program. Next slide. This is what the cohort looks like right now. So you'll see it's a hyper diverse program. People from all around the US and all around the world. 31% of our students are international. Most of our students do come from China, but we have some representation from India and from the EU. Okay, next slide. This is what the curriculum looks like. So you see the foundational coursework, your core requirements, the analytics coursework. All students are required to take 4 courses in analytics, and then some electives as well. Next slide. We have 3 tracks at Wake Forest: Assurance, Tax, and Financial Transaction Services, also known as FTS. FTS is unique to Wake Forest. We're the only school that offers it, and it's for students that are looking to go into careers in investment banking, M&A work, and transfer pricing, or corporate finance or financial technology work, also known as FinTech. Next slide. I did see a question. We can go to the next slide as well. I did see a question about COVID, or I think campus openings here at Wake Forest. We have successfully maintained campus operations since September of 2020. So while we have adhered to all COVID protocols, such as masking and distancing, we were able to control our caseloads and maintain successful opening from the fall up until now. We are planning to be open again on campus in July, because 2 of our 3 programs start in July. For students that cannot get here in July, either due to visa restrictions or personal health concerns, we will still offer online course instruction this summer, hoping then the students will join us full-time in September. Okay, these are just 2 different pathways that we share in the MSA program. So next slide. And this is what employer recruiting looks like as well. And we have great employment outcomes for our international students with the Big 4 firms as well. Next slide. Some career outcomes. You'll see what we refer to in the United States as the Big 4. I know that a lot of these are global brands: Deloitte, EY, KPMG, PwC, as well as other national and regional firms. You'll see the average compensation. And we had 100% employment in the class of 2020, and that includes students of all countries, not just US students. Next slide. And beyond the Big 4, you'll see lots of career opportunities in investment banking and corporate accounting. Next slide. So I want to talk about the MS in Management now. This is a very popular program, #3 in the US, top 25 worldwide, according to The Economist. It is designed for non-business majors who are looking to build upon their liberal arts experience with 1 year of general technical business skills, as well as critical business domain knowledge. Next slide. Again, hyper diverse cohort, but I want to leave you with, again, my comments that our programs are very small, big to us, but very small in comparison to the market. And I also wanted to draw attention to the lower right, to the International Leaders Program. This is a bundled MSM plus MSBA experience. So students who are identified as high potential are invited to join us for 2 master's experiences, the MSM year first, and then the STEM designated MSBA year, which will allow you to stay in the United States, if you so wish, up to 36 months after your MSBA experience. Our students who have done the ILP, as we call it, the International Leaders Program, have truly excelled in the classroom, as well as gone on to great career outcomes, both in the United States, and then for those that wish to return to China or another country have done that as well. Next slide. This is what the curriculum looks like. Again, for students that might be looking at a full-time MBA experience, you'll see that our degree experiences are very similar to a full-time MBA program. I'm not going to read through the curriculum because I know you have access to these slides after this presentation. Next slide, please. And then these are some of the things that the MSM degree experience at Wake Forest imparts into you. Next slide. We also now offer 3 specializations within the MSM program. So in the spring semester, you have the option to pursue a pathway into marketing, healthcare, or strategic resource management, which includes careers in finance, human capital, technology, as well as advisory consulting. And then your graduate consulting projects will be built around whatever your track is. You don't have to choose a track, but you can choose a track if you wish. Next slide. Perfect. The MSM MBA Advantage. So students who graduate from our MSM degree have the opportunity within 5 years of their MSM completion to return to Wake Forest, either on campus or online, to return as a second-year MBA student, and you can have your MBA in 1 year. Next slide. This is the International Leaders Program I talked about as well. These are some student profiles. You have the option of doing the MSM plus MSBA pathway, or for accounting students, if they want to do the MSA to MSBA pathway, that is an option for you as well. Next slide. Another student profile of one of our fantastic ILP students. Next slide. And then these are some of the attributes of the ILP. I get questions a lot about what does this do? It just looks like 2 more years of school. But it's really, again, the integration of your general business domain knowledge in the MSM, and then the business analytics STEM degree, or the accounting to MSBA degree. Many of our students who pursue the MSA to MSBA pathway will sit and study for the United States CPA during the break in between MSA to MSBA. And again, your spot in the second year is guaranteed, and any scholarship you're awarded in the first year carries as well to the second year. Next slide. And this is career support. I talked some about career support at the beginning. I will challenge any school in the United States, peer-to-peer, to Wake Forest exceptional career outcome and support. The last button is a viral link, and you'll learn more about our exceptional career services here at Wake Forest. And because our programs are small, as I talked about in the beginning, we're able to offer really high levels of career support. And next slide. Some outcomes as well for MSM. Next slide. And then MSBA. Next slide. So this is an incredibly popular program. If anyone is on the call and has been put on our wait list, I do apologize. But right now, again, because our programs are small, we don't have enough seats for all the students that would like to join us. So we currently have a pretty extensive wait list. You'll see that students, again, come from all around the U.S. and all around the world for this program experience. Next slide. We really believe in the integration of business curriculum with data science curriculum in this program. So there are a lot of MSBA programs in the United States now, but you will see if you look at Wake Forest program, the intersection of business with big data more so than you might find in another school. But we are, again, giving you robust programming coding skills as well as other data science capabilities. Next slide. Career outcomes, you'll see, the average starting salary is higher than our other programs, but that is to reflect the demand for business analytics professionals, both in the United States and abroad. Our students go to all different kinds of organizations. You'll see a lot of course, global brands. That's why I include those on these slides that students identify with. But we also have a lot of students who've gone into advisory consulting and financial technology roles as well. And that employment outcome is accurate. That's 100% employment for all students, regardless of country of origin. In the pandemic, we definitely did have some employment challenges, but ironically, the students who graduated in 2020 that are still seeking work are not our international students. It was our U.S. students who are not able to gain employment. Next slide. I saw someone talking in the chat about student organizations. We have 6 student organizations. Because our programs are 1 year, we really try and limit the organizations we have, but our international students play a significant role in all these, especially, of course, the International Student Association. We welcome students from all around the world at Wake Forest. We know that it's a big endeavor to come overseas and study in the U.S., so you are welcomed, supported, and very protected here at Wake Forest University. Next slide. And there are the applications. Now the MSA deadline is passed. The MSM and ILP deadline is still open, and the MSBA deadline is passed. But if students do wish to apply, you can certainly contact me. My contact information is provided in this presentation, and you've got the QR code right there. Next slide. And there we go. I love speaking with students. It's a favorite part of my role, no question. If you email me or contact me via some of the platforms here on here, I'll happily work with you one-to-one and answer any questions you may have about Wake Forest, career outcomes, life in North Carolina, or anything else. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. And this is awesome. So now we're going to jump right into the Q&A session. And before that, and have already so many students ask many questions, so I'm going to pick one. The first one is, do students get to choice to live on campus or out of the campus?
Okay, that's a great question. So we do not provide on-campus housing for graduate students, but most of our grad students live within 1 to 2 miles of Farrell Hall, the home of the School of Business, and that's through either Wake Forest-owned housing that graduate students lease, or we have a bunch of private gated apartment complexes known as the Crown Properties, which primarily host and house international students. And most of our students, again, live within a short distance of the business school. You do not need a vehicle or a car to come to Wake Forest. We provide campus shuttles. Our campus shuttles service 25 different housing complexes and streets, and that's a lot in North Carolina. And then all the apartment complexes themselves have their own housing. Most of our students will either carpool, as we call it in the States, or even walk to campus. And we do have Uber and Lyft here if you should go out for the evening. We provide those services as well here in Winston.
Awesome. Okay, so next question is, can we go to the States now since there is no way the visa can be issued?
So that's an interesting question. I have had some students who, if they still have a student visa, can transfer, but I've had some students who have said they have gone to other countries. Specifically, I think I've seen Vietnam and Laos have been able to secure a visa to get access to the States. We are here. And we are planning again to have our classes in person in July. But for students that cannot get here in July, we will offer the summer coursework in a web-based modality.
All right, great. So the last question also is about the visa. The student asked what support the school can offer the students to apply for the visa.
So we have a fantastic department called Global Program and International Students and Scholars, our ISS group. I'm happy to provide contact information to anybody that wishes to speak with them. They can really address the visa technicalities and specific circumstances with you on a one-to-one student situation. Every student's visa situation is unique, so I don't want to give a blanket response to that.
Okay, thanks, John. So that will be all for your session today, and thank you so much for this opportunity to know more about the Wake Forest.
Okay. Always wonderful to see you. Thank you, and have a nice evening.
You too. Bye. 好，非常感谢我们的 John 老师为我们带来的精彩分享。那么接下来呢，我们要有请今天的最后一所学校的招生官老师来为我们带来最后的分享。他是来自 Suffolk University 的 Scott 老师。Let's welcome Scott.
All right. Good morning.
Hi, Scott.
How are you?
I'm great.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
We can just get started.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. My name is Scott. I'm a graduate admissions counselor here at Suffolk University in the heart of Boston. Next slide. All right. So Suffolk, we were founded in 1906. We are a mid-sized institution. We have about 1,200 graduate students with a significant amount of international students, as well as women on campus. And in terms of faculty, we have quite a few international faculty as well, with many of those students and faculty coming from China. So you will not be alone if you come to Boston and Suffolk. Next slide, please. In terms of accreditation, we are regionally and nationally accredited. And our rankings, actually, I need to update this. They just came out and we moved up a few spots. But I like to highlight the AACSB accreditation. That is an important accreditation for business schools. Specifically, it is an international accreditation that only less than 300 schools worldwide have in terms of business schools. So we are very proud of that. And so if you're interested in business, that's a big benefit of the program. Next slide. So just to orient yourself to the Northeast United States, you can see Virginia down there. Wake Forest is a little farther south. And then as you look north into New York, that is where Fordham is. And we are a little bit further north up in Massachusetts. That being said, New York and Washington, D.C. are a couple hours train ride. Some people commute daily to those cities. So certainly it's a great area in terms of making connections with important institutions. Next slide. So Boston itself, this is downtown Boston, and all of these yellow dots are Suffolk University buildings. So you can see we have a cluster that's woven into the fabric of the city. It's a 10-minute walk to the financial district where all of those big four accountancy firms have offices, major offices. Beacon Hill and Government Center are big government institutions. So you can see we are sandwiched in between all of these major institutions, and that lends to us getting students in class that are part-time, already working at these institutions, and we do not separate part-time and full-time students. So being in class with those mid-tier professionals, hiring managers in some cases, is really advantageous for your learning and for your career exploration after you graduate. Next slide. So I like to highlight this as well in terms of, for those interested in finance specifically, you can see venture capital investments across cities. And Boston, obviously San Francisco and California with Silicon Valley is very large. But then second is Boston, and New York are sort of neck and neck. So although we're not as big as New York and we don't have Wall Street, we have a lot of capital that's ready to be invested, ready to, a lot of funds to be moved around. So if you're interested in finance or business in general, this is a great city to be in. Next slide. So in terms of the way that Suffolk teaches students, we really emphasize experiential learning. So actually having you do flash consultancy projects with one of the many startups or established firms in the city. Several of my faculty have worked for Reebok, have worked for Nike in operations management. I'm also an MBA student. So having those flash consultancy projects at their institutions or institutions that they work with has been incredibly enlightening. And any MBA program specifically should be rooted in experiential learning so that you get hands-on experience. We're also global in scope, so all of our curriculum, and this is what helps us keep that AACSB accreditation, they're rooted in a global lens. And part of that is having so many international students, but also having so many international faculty that think about things a little bit differently. And it's outcome based because we're a mid-sized institution, and when it comes to each of these programs, pretty small. usually less than 100 students, except with the exception of MBA, which is our biggest program. It's very student focused. You are sort of, the goal is to help you reach what your ultimate goal is. We don't have cookie cutter type educational goals for you. It's really, so many of our programs are very flexible when it comes to electives, dual degrees, and we have really solid, robust career services because we have such a active alumni base being right in the heart of the city. Next slide. So if you are interested in any of these areas, Boston will be specifically a good city to look into. Finance, technology, and healthcare are our major industrial clusters, particularly looking at the intersection of them. You can see fintech and biotech, so financial technology and biotechnology. We have Harvard and MIT right across the river. It's literally about a 15-minute walk. So many startups proliferate from those institutions. So we work with them often. We have classes work with them. We send students to them for work after they have graduated. So it's a really solid cluster for all of these areas. Next slide. So here's a list of our programs. You can see business programs on the left and College of Arts and Sciences on the right. We also have a law school. We were actually founded as a law school. So keep that in mind as well. And you can see several design programs, interior architecture and graphic design are popular for international students here. And next slide. So the MBA, I just like to highlight a few areas of it. It can be done in a calendar year if you have a business background. And there's a travel seminar included in the program. So you go to London for finance, Germany for general consulting. Las Vegas is a marketing trip. Silicon Valley is fintech, obviously. Brazil, China, and Singapore are all consulting trips. So you're actually working with firms in these cities, and that again we view as very important to your education, is actually getting exposure to the consultancy project and sort of rolling up your sleeves and getting to work. When it comes to concentrations, we have 16, so no shortage. These are some of the more popular ones. Fintech, obviously. Business intelligence is very up and coming, and our grads in that program or concentration tend to do very well. And forensic accounting also is very popular. Next slide. So I like to mention the MBA dual degree options because they allow you to finish 2 degrees by only adding a semester of full-time study. And also 3 of them, highlighted here, carry a STEM designation, which allows you to stay in the country for an additional 2 years of OPT, so 3 years total without needing sponsorship from an employer. And also, I will mention the MBA with a concentration in business intelligence is also STEM designated. So you can just do 1 degree, an MBA, and get that STEM designation. You just have to select the electives that will be appropriate. Next slide. So when it comes to the application process, we operate on a rolling basis. So once we have all materials, it'll be about 2 weeks to get a decision. We're generally pretty quick. So we do not have round-based admission. There are some deadlines highlighted here. For fall, July 15th is probably as late as you would want to go. particularly this year, given how tough it is to get a visa appointment. But also we issue your I-20, which allows you to get that visa appointment at admission. We do not make you make a deposit in order to get that appointment, or start that I-20 process. So keep that in mind as well. Next slide. So these are items that we require for admission. Transcript, it can be unofficial, depending on the program, letters of recommendation, pretty standard as you look at different programs. GRE and GMAT is not required for many programs. We ran a study and found that they were not indicative of success. So at that point, we made it optional. And video essay is required for MBA, but that's only 2 to 3 minutes. And nothing to really stress about. And you can see minimum English language test scores on the right-hand side. Next slide. Yes, financial aid. So you do not have to apply separately for financial aid. You will get your package in your decision letter if you're admitted. And these packages can reach up to 50% off of tuition, and many students qualify for that aid. We do not have a incredibly high threshold to reach our highest aid package. So keep that in mind as you're applying as well. And this is true for any grad school. Wait until you get your package before making a decision. Next slide. All right, so closing up, just Boston's an amazing city. You will love it if you haven't been here. It's small enough to feel intimate and not overwhelming, like I think New York can, at least for me. You're used to larger cities, some of you, I'm sure, but for me, it's too big. But Boston's a great size, and we have a lot. Deep history, lots of museums, great architecture, lots of great shopping, and always something to do. So we're eager to open back up and have you as part of our community. Next slide. All right, so feel free to email me, please. Happy to help Chinese students with anything at all. You guys are my area of recruitment, so please contact me. I'm happy to help you out, and I'll close it out there and open it for questions.
All right, thanks for your great sharing. And your colleague, Nico, is really professional, and she already solved the most problem for the students.
Awesome, she's great, right?
Yeah, so here I'm already prepared some questions, so I want to go for that. The first question is how many days per week does a student need to be on campus?
Great question. So as a full-time student, it will be probably 2 to 3 days, or I would say 3 to 4 days. Anywhere from 2 to 4. It really depends on the course offerings. But we are so centrally located. We have 2 train stations that lead to everywhere in Boston. So it's very easy to get to us if you do have to come in 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. It won't be incredibly hard. And all of our classes are at night as well, or the majority of them, because we have part-time students. So that's also a consideration to keep in mind. Many of them start at 5 o'clock, end at 7, and then the second class starts at 7:30.
All right, great. So the next question is, what is the admissions process like? Process like.
Yeah. So it's all done online. You can upload unofficial transcripts. We do need them in English, so you might have to get your transcript evaluated. But once we have that, your goal statement, your resume, and either 1 or 2 recommendations, it'll go to review immediately as long as you click submit. and it'll be about 2 weeks to get your decision. And then from that point, we start the I-20 process. So pretty quick. We work hard to turn around decisions in a quick fashion because we don't have round-based admission.
All right, so the last question is, can students double major? And if yes, do the majors have to be related?
Yes, great question. So instead of undergrad, where they all are called double majors and you just get one bachelor's degree, at the grad level, they're actually, we call them dual degrees. And you get 2 degrees, but you use your electives in the other program. And we have many of them, more than most schools from what I've seen. And those were the MBA, MSA, MBA, MSM, MBA, MSBA. We have an MSA, MSBA. So while you can't combine all programs, they don't all match up. We have probably 10 to 12 dual degree programs that will likely fit the need that a student's looking for. And I'm, again, happy to help. It's my favorite part of my job is figuring out which programs are right. So I can certainly help with that. But yeah, we have many dual degree programs.
Awesome. So that will be all for your session today. And thank you so much. Have a nice day. We will see you next time.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
好，非常感谢我们的 Scott 老师为我们带来的精彩的分享那么我们今天呢，也是因为时间的原因呢，我们没有办法和每一位招生官老师都进行一个深度的沟通。我们也非常欢迎同学们来积极下载我们的老师的 PPT， 然后或者是添加老师的个人联系方式来进一步的咨询。非常感谢大家今晚的到来呢，也希望同学们可以继续关注我们未来更多的云展活动。大家晚安，让我们下次再见。